You don't notice the cage the first time you walk into it. You only notice it the day you realize the door was never locked. Every life eventually reaches a silent moment of recognition, a moment when you look at yourself, your job, your routines, your tired ambitions, and feel a strange, unsettling truth rising from beneath the surface. You have been running for years, but you have no idea who built the track beneath your feet. Most people never get this moment. They grow old inside the wheel, believing motion is progress, believing exhaustion is virtue, believing that speed means direction. But one day, if you're fortunate enough, you see it. A flicker, a crack in the pattern, a brief interruption in the rhythm of your domestication, and you finally ask the question the system fears the most: why am I living like this? Human domestication is not a conspiracy. It is an architecture, a masterpiece of quiet control. A design so subtle that you call it normal life. Wake up, work, consume, sleep, repeat. You were taught that this sequence is adulthood, responsibility, maturity. But what if it's something else entirely? What if it's the music Nietzsche warned about? The music only the obedient can hear. You think you're dancing through life with purpose. But what if you're only moving to the mechanical rhythm of a system that needs you tired, distracted, and grateful for crumbs? The modern world replaced chains with comfort, replaced whips with deadlines, replaced masters with managers, and the miracle is that you volunteered for all of it. This is the first betrayal. Not that they built a cage for you, but that they trained you to love it, to defend it, to fear the silence outside it. Look at your life carefully. Look at the hours you sell. Look at the dreams you postponed. Look at the voice inside you that has been whispering for years that something is wrong. You weren't designed for this wheel, you were trained for it. A system that rewards obedience, punishes curiosity, and numbs the very instinct that could set you free. But here is the truth that marks the beginning of every awakening. The moment you question the wheel begins to crack. Not because it is weak, but because it was always made of illusions. And illusions cannot survive conscious eyes. You may think you're afraid of losing your job, your routine, your stability. But what you're truly afraid of is losing your identity. An identity that was handed to you, not chosen. And this is the point where a new life begins. Not with a plan, not with money, not with a motivational speech, but with the quiet, uncomfortable admission, maybe I've been living inside someone else's design. If this thought is unsettling, good. It means the door of the cage is finally visible, and once you see that the door exists, you can never unsee it. The real question is not whether the cage is locked, it never was. The real question is whether you have the courage to step outside it. If the cage of adult life feels familiar, it's because you first met its blueprint as a child. Long before your first paycheck, long before you knew what career meant. The training didn't begin in the office, it began in the classroom. People like to believe school is about knowledge, but look closer. Look beyond the posters about dreams and success. Look at the structure, not the slogans. A bell tells you when to arrive, another bell tells you when to stop. You sit in rows. You raise your hand to speak. You ask permission to meet your own basic needs. You memorize what you're told, repeat it on command and forget it when it's no longer required. This is not education. This is rehearsal. A long, disciplined rehearsal for a life where someone else decides the rhythm of your day, the value of your time, and the limits of your imagination. From your first years, you learn something far more powerful than math or language. You learn how to obey. You learn to please authority. You learn that approval is earned by compliance. You learn that the greatest sin is not ignorance, but disobedience. A red mark on a test, a disappointed parent, a teacher's cold voice, tiny punishments that shape your inner world like a sculptor shaping clay. Schopenhauer said, "Life swings like a pendulum between pain and boredom." School perfected this pendulum. Too much pain and the system would break you. Too much boredom and you'd question the point of it all. So they oscillate you between the two just enough for you to stay awake, obedient and predictable. You learn to endure tasks you do not care about. Sit still when every instinct wants to move. Follow instructions even when they make no sense. And most importantly, you learn not to question why you're learning any of it. Ask yourself honestly, did you ever learn how money works? How debt traps you, how taxes shape your life, how markets move, how to negotiate, how to protect your mind from manipulation? Of course not. You learned mitochondria, the Pythagorean theorem, wars fought centuries ago, and enough disconnected facts to pass a test that no longer matters. The system was never interested in making you powerful. It was interested in making you predictable. That's why creativity is enrichment, not a core subject. That's why financial literacy never appears on the curriculum. That's why critical thinking is praised in theory, but punished in practice. Because a person who understands money becomes independent. A person who understands systems becomes dangerous. A person who questions authority becomes uncontrollable. The diploma you receive at the end is not proof that you learned. It is proof that you endured, that you played by the rules, that you absorbed the rhythm of the cage without resistance. By the time you graduate, you're already fluent in the language of domestication. You don't need walls. You don't need chains. You have internalized the script. Show up on time. Do what you're told. Don't question the hierarchy. Don't disrupt the order. Trade your time for approval. Trade your originality for stability. And the most tragic part, you celebrate it. You celebrate being prepared for the real world, never noticing that the real world was designed to feel exactly like school. The rows of desks become rows of cubicles. The report card becomes a performance review. The bell becomes the clock. The permission slip becomes the employment contract. And the fear of disappointing a teacher becomes the fear of disappointing a manager. School did not fail you. It succeeded perfectly. It delivered exactly what it was designed to produce. A compliant adult who walks into the cage believing it is home. But here is the truth that begins to crack the illusion. If your earliest training shaped you into this version of yourself, then you can unlearn it. You can break the rhythm that was programmed into you. And once you see the pattern, you can never return to blindness. If school teaches you the rhythm of obedience, fear is what makes you keep dancing long after the music stops. Fear is the quiet accountant of your life. It keeps the books balanced. It keeps you in line. It keeps you from questioning the contract you never signed but still live by every day. Fear is not an emotion in the modern world. It is infrastructure. A hidden architecture of control woven into every responsible decision you think you're making. Think about it. Why do you stay in a job that slowly drains your soul? Fear of unemployment, fear of losing your status, fear of disappointing your family, fear of the unknown. Why do you accept a salary that barely keeps you afloat? Fear of negotiation, fear of replacement, fear that this is the best you can get. Why do you stay silent when something feels wrong? Fear of being judged, fear of being excluded, fear of shaking the cage that keeps you predictable. The system does not need to threaten you anymore. It just needs to let your imagination do the job. A child fears the red mark on a test. An adult fears the red number on a bill. The mechanism never changed, only the stakes. Bonhoeffer warned us that stupidity is more dangerous than malice, not because people are naturally stupid, but because the system cultivates a particular kind of blindness, a blindness that keeps you obedient, anxious, and convinced that your chains are reasonable. Modern fear is not loud, it is subtle. It hides behind respectable words like stability, prudence, and responsibility. It makes you shrink your dreams to fit the expectations of others. It makes you call caution what is actually submission. It makes you decorate your cage so you can tolerate it. Fear is brilliant at one thing, making you believe the wheel is safer than the ground beneath it. This is why people defend the very structures that exploit them. They cling to routines that suffocate them because the alternative feels too open, too wide, too unpredictable. Freedom terrifies them more than captivity. The system knows this. It feeds your anxiety just enough to keep you productive. It gives you stress that feels normal, bills that arrive on schedule, debts that never end, expectations that always rise just a little faster than your ability to meet them. You think your insomnia is personal. You think your anxiety is an individual flaw. You think your constant tension comes from your personality. But what if it's not? What if your fear is not a malfunction but a design feature? A fearful worker doesn't ask for more. A fearful worker doesn't question the rules. A fearful worker accepts what is given and apologizes for wanting anything else. Fear is the most profitable resource on earth. Companies harvest it, governments shape it, society reinforces it, and you carry it around like an invisible tax no one taught you to calculate. But here is the moment everything shifts. The instant you see fear as a tool, not a truth, its power begins to dissolve. Fear thrives in unconsciousness. It dies under awareness. And awareness is coming, because before you can escape the rat race, you must confront its central deception, that you are playing a fair game. There is a reason you feel exhausted no matter how hard you work. A reason your progress feels slow, fragile, and easily reversible. A reason your income rises, yet your freedom does not. It's not because you lack discipline, intelligence, or ambition. It's because you've been playing the wrong game. Not a metaphorical game, a real one. A game with rules, winners, losers, and, most importantly, two separate boards. The first board is the one you were taught to play on, the visible board, the respectable board, the board of resumes, degrees, promotions, and salaries. On this board, you exchange your time for money. You follow the script, study hard, work hard, climb the ladder, save what's left, hope you make it. It sounds noble, it even feels meaningful, but hidden behind this board is a brutal truth. You cannot win a game that caps your income at 24 hours per day. No matter how skilled you are, no matter how loyal, no matter how hardworking, your time has a ceiling, and therefore, so does your wealth. And here is the darker part. In this game, you are a cost, a liability. Every raise you receive is less profit for someone above you. Every benefit you get is an expense that must be justified. Your value is measured not by your humanity, but by the difference between what you produce and what you are paid. You were positioned to lose from the beginning. Now look at the second board, the one no teacher ever mentioned, no textbook ever explained, and no employer wants you to understand. On this board, the rich do not trade time for money. They trade systems, capital, leverage. They build engines that run even when they sleep. While you work for your salary, their money works for them. While you request days off, their businesses operate without them. While you worry about inflation, their assets rise because of it. This is why they grow wealth faster, not because they are smarter, but because they are playing a non-linear game. A game where money multiplies itself. A game where a dollar can earn another dollar without labor. A game where systems scale while humans tire. But here is the part the system hides most carefully. The rules of the second game are written to advantage those already on that board. Banks offer cheap credit to people who already have money. High-return investments require minimum capital the average worker will never see. Tax codes reward capital income and punish labor income. Opportunities circulate in closed networks, networks built long before you ever entered the job market. You are not competing against individuals. You are competing against structures. And meritocracy? A comforting fairy tale. A story told to the poor so they keep running, and to the rich so they can keep sleeping. Orwell warned us, in times of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. And here is the truth. You were never meant to win the first game. You were meant to participate, to keep the wheels spinning, to believe that survival is success, to remain grateful for small raises that change nothing but your willingness to endure another year. The rich don't work more hours. They don't grind harder. They don't sacrifice more. They simply operate on a different board, one whose logic you were never taught, because teaching it would free you. But once you see the two games, something irreversible happens. You can no longer confuse effort with progress. You can no longer confuse busyness with wealth. You can no longer confuse survival with success. And this is where the real fracture begins. The moment when you start to ask the forbidden question, if the entire system is built to keep me on the first board, how much of my identity, my ambition, and my dreams were designed around a game I was never meant to win? Once you understand the two money games, a deeper, more unsettling truth emerges. The system doesn't just control your income, it controls your identity. It shapes the person you believe you are, the life you believe you deserve, and the dreams you believe you're allowed to pursue. Ask someone, who are you? Most will answer with their job. I'm a manager. I'm a designer. I'm an engineer. As if their entire existence could be reduced to a title on a corporate chart. This is not an accident. It is conditioning. From childhood, you learn to equate obedience with worth. As an adult, you learn to equate productivity with identity. The system took your why and replaced it with a role that benefits everyone, except you. Look at the architecture of modern work. Look at the benefits they give you. The health plan that only exists if you stay. The retirement plan that chains you to decades of obedience. The paid time off that reminds you how little of your time actually belongs to you. Golden chains shine just enough to make captivity feel respectable. This is why people defend their jobs, even when those jobs drain their soul. Not because the work is meaningful, but because losing the job feels like losing themselves. The system mapped your identity onto its machinery, so if you ever step away, you don't just fear financial insecurity, you fear psychological disintegration, and then comes consumption. The second weapon, the anesthetic. Advertising doesn't sell products, it sells the story of who you should be, the successful one, the admired one, the relevant one. You don't buy a car, you buy status. You don't buy clothes, you buy belonging. You don't buy a phone, you buy validation. And suddenly you are trapped in a cycle where you work to afford the image you must maintain to justify the work you hate. This is how identity becomes a prison. You lock yourself inside the expectations of others. You spend money you don't have to prove something you don't feel. You carry debt like a badge of acceptance. The more you try to look successful, the further you drift from any real success. Schopenhauer said wealth is like seawater. The more we drink, the thirstier we become. The system depends on this thirst, on the hunger for status that never ends, on the emotional emptiness that consumption temporarily fills, only to return stronger. And here is the cruel genius of it. If you ever stop consuming, you no longer fit the identity the system has assigned you. You become an anomaly, an outsider, a person who no longer anchors their existence in purchases, titles, or external approval. And this terrifies people, not because it is wrong, but because it reveals the silent truth they spend their whole lives avoiding. The life they built is not their own. It is a collage of expectations, fears, and borrowed dreams. But there is another truth, darker and more liberating. If your identity was constructed, it can be deconstructed. If it was given to you, it can be taken back. And the moment you begin to reclaim it, not by quitting your job overnight, not by rejecting society, but by questioning the meaning behind every decision, the machinery begins to lose its grip on you. There comes a moment when understanding is no longer enough. A moment when awareness turns into discomfort, and discomfort turns into a quiet, trembling rebellion inside you. You begin to sense something ancient beneath the layers of obedience. A pulse, a truth. A forgotten instinct the system worked your whole life to suppress. The instinct for freedom, not the slogan version, not the political version. The raw, internal freedom of being a person who belongs to themselves. But before that freedom emerges, something else must happen. Something painful, something unavoidable, something every true transformation demands. A part of you has to die. Not your body, not your talents, but the version of you that the system engineered. The domesticated worker who confuses exhaustion with virtue. The obedient adult who clings to a job title as if it were a soul. The compulsive consumer who fills emotional emptiness with objects. The fearful self who defends the very cage that imprisons him. This is the self that must be confronted, not with violence but with truth. Because once you see this version of yourself clearly, you realize he was never you. He was a collection of responses, expectations, and inherited fears. That persona built for survival inside someone else's game. Killing this self feels like betrayal, and in a way it is. It is the betrayal of every lie you were taught to call wisdom. You were told security is the highest good. You were told stability is maturity. You were told ambition is arrogance. You were told comfort is happiness. But all these lessons serve the same purpose, to keep you predictable. The revolt begins when you realize that most of what you called your beliefs were simply unexamined defaults, echoes from parents who were also afraid, advice from teachers shaped by their own conditioning, expectations from a society that benefits when you move in straight lines. Bonhoeffer wrote that the morality of a society is revealed in what it does to its children. Your society taught you to fear risk, to worship stability, and to obey structures that do not serve you. And you believed it, because you were too young to question it, but you are not too young now. And this is where the metamorphosis begins, not by adding anything new, but by removing everything false. The domesticated self was built on 3 pillars: fear, conformity, and borrowed purpose. When you remove these pillars, the entire structure collapses. Confusion appears first, then anger, then grief. Grief for the years you lived as someone you never chose to be. But beneath the grief, something else rises: clarity. You begin to see time differently. You begin to see money differently. You begin to see yourself differently. You understand that time is the only irreplaceable asset, that freedom is worth more than approval. That purpose cannot be outsourced to employers, brands, or social expectations. That earning more, spending less, and investing better are not financial strategies. They are expressions of reclaiming your autonomy. The domesticated self only knows the wheel. The awakened self sees the door. And once you see the door, you know exactly what needs to be done. Step through it, even if your voice shakes, even if your past resists, even if the people around you call you irresponsible, idealistic, or insane. Because the world does not fear rebels who shout. It fears individuals who reclaim their inner authority. Awakening is not freedom. It is the moment you finally realize freedom is possible. At first it feels disorienting. Your routines feel strange. Your ambitions feel borrowed. Even your thoughts sound like echoes from a life you no longer fit inside. You look at the wheel you've been running on, the same wheel you once called stability, success, the right path. And for the first time you see it clearly, not as a career, not as a destiny, but as a mechanism, a structure designed to keep you moving without arriving. And then the question rises again, the same one that opened this journey. Why am I living like this? This time, the question doesn't come from frustration. It comes from recognition, from the quiet wisdom that appears when illusion loses its power. Because once you've seen the architecture of your domestication, school, fear, work, identity, consumption, you understand something essential. The wheel only works if you keep running. You were never trapped physically. You were trapped psychologically, trapped by beliefs you never chose, by fears you thought were natural, by expectations handed to you before you even knew yourself. But here is the revelation at the end of every awakening. The cage was never locked. The door was always open. You simply weren't ready to see it. Freedom does not begin when you quit your job, move to another country, or burn your past. Freedom begins with a shift so subtle it feels like a whisper. My life belongs to me. It begins when you stop performing for approval, when you stop buying identities, when you stop mistaking motion for meaning, when you stop living as the character you were trained to play, and it begins when you forge a new pact with the most sacred resource you possess: your time. Time is not money. Time is the raw material of your existence, the only currency you can never earn back, the only investment that always tells the truth. When you begin treating time as sacred, everything changes. Your relationships, your work, your ambitions, your definition of success. You start asking different questions. Does this choice expand my freedom or shrink it? Does this path align with who I am or with who they want me to be? Does this version of success bring peace or just prestige? You stop running, you start choosing. And when you start choosing, the wheel slows down, until you find yourself standing still for the first time in your life, breathing without rushing, thinking without fear, existing without performing. This is the moment the system fears most. Not rebellion, not chaos, but clarity. A clear mind does not worship the wheel. A clear mind sees the world as it is. A clear mind rewrites its own terms of existence. And now you must decide. Will you step off the wheel and reclaim your life? Or will you keep running, knowing exactly where the wheel leads? Because you already know the answer. You feel it now. The door is open. The choice is yours. If this message touched something in you, something buried, something waiting, share it with someone who is still running blind. And write in the comments, "I choose freedom," not as a slogan, but as the first declaration of a life reclaimed. Subscribe for more philosophy that awakens, confronts, and transforms, because your mind is the only place where true revolution begins.